Hello, I'm Andy Mack and welcome to Movie Shorts, the podcast where we dive into films faster than a raptor in the long grass. Today we're talking about Jurassic World Rebirth, the latest attempt to answer a question that probably should have stayed extinct. What happens if we keep prodding dinosaurs? This is the franchise that brought us T-Rex Toilet Terror, Raptor Kitchen Stealth, and Jeff Goldblum unbuttoned to the navel. So the question is, can Rebirth breathe new life into an idea that's been chased around tropical islands a few too many times? If you're new here, feel free to check out previous episodes including Ballerina, 28 Days Later, and the F1 movie, a high-octane breakdown of speed, ego, and crunching gear shifts. All available wherever you get your podcasts. But back to Jurassic Park 7. Let's get straight to it. Jurassic World Rebirth is 2 hours and 14 minutes in length with a 12A certificate, which in true franchise tradition means it's just scary enough for kids to beg their parents to see it. It's directed by Gareth Edwards, known for bringing scale and grit to big-budget sci-fis like Godzilla and Star Wars Rogue One. The cast is stacked: Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey, Rupert Friend, and Manuel Garcia Rolfo. A mix of star power, dramatic weight, and enough charisma to handle exposition while sprinting from an unknown dinosaur that we think we all ought to know the name of. Set several years after the global dinosaur chaos of Jurassic World Dominion, Rebirth doesn't hit the reset button, it leans in. Dinosaurs are still part of the ecosystem, but now the question is, who's really adapting to who? Trailers hinted at a darker, more grounded tone, and the promise of more practical effects have long-time fans hopeful this wasn't just another CGI retread. Personally, I went in with cautious optimism. The franchise has stumbled before, chasing the roar of the original without quite recapturing the magic. But with Edwards behind the camera and a cast like this, Rebirth had a real shot at evolving. So with all that in place, let's talk about the film itself. We begin in 2010 on a remote Atlantic island called Ile Saint-Hubert, which sounds picturesque until you realise it's housing a secret lab dedicated to genetically modifying dinosaurs. Not just bringing them back, mind you, improving them. Naturally, it all goes wrong. One of their creations, a heavily mutated tyrannosaur nicknamed Distortus Rex, yes, breaks loose, turns the island into a prehistoric demolition site, and the whole operation is quickly abandoned. Because if there's one thing the Jurassic franchise has taught us, it's that running away and leaving the problem behind always works. Fast forward 17 years, and 5 years after Dominion, the world is in environmental freefall. Dinosaurs, once roaming across continents, are now confined to remote pockets of wilderness that vaguely resemble the Mesozoic era. Humanity is realizing that bringing back apex predators might have been a poor long-term climate strategy. Enter Zora Bennett, played by Scarlett Johansson. She's a covert ex-military type with a tragic past, because of course she is, who's recruited by Parker Genix, a pharmaceutical giant with the subtle energy of a Bond villain startup. Their mission? Head back to the island, now off limits and covered in warning signs, to collect biological samples from the last remaining prehistoric titans. Why? To save humanity! Of course! And if they make a few billion on the side, who's counting? Zora is introduced to her team in a smoky bar in Suriname, and let's just say this. Get your bingo cards ready, because it's time to play Who's Going to Get Eaten by a Dinosaur? What follows is a journey back to an island full of angry experiments, moral grey areas, and the kind of lush, looming landscape Gareth Edwards loves to drown in dread. And we will stop there. So here's the thing. Jurassic World Rebirth isn't as bad as I feared, but it's not quite as good as I hoped either. It lands somewhere in the evolutionary middle. Not extinct, not apex predator, but just surviving. The biggest issue? I feel we've been here before. Once again, it's humans meddling with dinosaurs for profit. This time it's pharmaceuticals instead of theme parks or military contracts, but the formula's the same. Greed, hubris, a shiny logo, and a PowerPoint pitch that ends in screaming. The company, Parkogenics, even has the kind of name that sounds like it should sponsor a Formula E team. There are nods to the original Jurassic Park scattered throughout, some subtle, some not, and while some fans will enjoy the Easter eggs, they also have a side effect. They remind you just how tightly constructed and fresh the 1993 film was. You smile, and then you sigh. That said, not everything's stuck in amber. One of the more surprising choices is the split storyline, still all contained on the island, but with different groups of people exploring the island for separate reasons. It allows for some parallel tension, and while some of the narrative threads work, others are more distracting. A subplot involving a character bonding with a dinosaur like it's a Labrador felt like a stretch. Heartfelt, sure, but just on the edge of parody. Where the film really starts to bare its teeth is in the final act. We finally get a proper look at the Distortus Rex in all its snarling, six-limbed, bio-hacked glory. And look, let's not be too judgmental. Just because it looks like a T-Rex got trapped in a blender with a tarantula doesn't mean it doesn't deserve its blockbuster close-up. There's tension, for sure. Edwards knows how to stage dread with scale, but by this point, the plausibility dial has been turned up to 11. The big T-Rex sequence earlier on is a decent slice of suspense, but the number of near-death escapes, lucky stumbles, and conveniently placed hiding spots might have you rolling your eyes just slightly between the gasps. As for the cast, Scarlett Johansson does exactly what you want a lead in a Jurassic film to do. She runs, she shoots, she has haunted eyes in the quiet moments, and total control in the chaos. Jonathan Bailey plays the nerdy scientist/reluctant explorer with just the right mix of awkwardness and grit, like a man who's read every dinosaur book by the age of 11 and has also learned how to handle jungle trekking. Jurassic World Rebirth flirts with weightier ideas, environmental collapse, corporate overreach, even the ethics of genetic manipulation, but rarely gives them room to breathe. There's a recurring tension between nostalgia and progress, and the film wants to honour both. In the end, it lands somewhere in the middle. Thoughtful in moments, but mostly content to go big, loud, and dino-heavy. It gestures at meaning, but keeps its claws firmly in blockbuster territory. It's uneven, occasionally ridiculous, and definitely familiar, but there's still fun to be had. If nothing else, it's a reminder that dinosaurs still look great on the big screen. Jurassic World Rebirth. Restless, recycling, raucous. Thank you for listening to Movie Shorts. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at MovieShortsAndyMac. And until next time, goodbye.